are here.
We are.
Man, I wish somebody would have told me that virtual summit. And I have the fabulous Jill R. Stevens, who is going to enchant you. She's effervescent. She's super fun. And before we hit the record, I'm like, or the record button, I'm like, Jill, we're gonna be good, you know? And I love Jill because I find her to be super mystical, and like she lives on an island and she's married to a Frenchman. And I will leave all that on the side because that is part of her fabulous brand. But she's also a very prolific writer. And one of my favorite words is prolific. And you definitely represent that. So Jill, welcome to the summit, because I know that you have so much to share around your zone of genius. And so I'd love for you to share in your own words, what is your zone of genius? Who do you help? And why do you believe that matters?
Oh my goodness, that's a lot right off the bat. This is great. I'm still like on, what did you call me? Effervescent or something?
Exactly.
Mystical.
Yeah.
I love it. And you said I had a brand. Wow, I have a brand.
You have a brand.
I think that's what people don't realize is they have a brand. And I think, what I live by this quote that I heard when I was a teenager that I didn't really take to heart as much as I did when I got older. And it's kind of that thing I wish when I'd heard it and read it and seen it, I would have had somebody sit down and be like, let's break this down. And it's a quote by Maya Angelou, beautiful poet, beautiful woman, beautiful soul. And she said, I've learned that people will forget what you say. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think that sums up my writing. It sums up why I write, because writing is something that I've always had to do. And I did it almost effortlessly because I didn't judge it. I didn't critique it. I didn't put it in a box. I didn't wrap it a certain way. I just allowed it to be. Whereas myself, on the other hand, I copycatted my way through life. I didn't show up as me half the time. I tapped down or toned down my joy because I thought that's how people wanted me to be. Mm-hmm. So if I could teach somebody, that thing I wish somebody would have told me, it's be you. Mm-hmm. Because you are your brand. You are the magic that you bring to the table. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be, polished or shined in any way. You don't need a business suit put on to know that you're powerful. These are the things I used to do.
Well, I think everybody does. I think everyone goes through that period because you want, and I don't mean you specifically, but I mean people who are starting their own business online are in a space where like, okay, tell me the formula. What do I got to do? Is there a blueprint? What do I need to follow? Oh, is it? And I have this big rant about it where I'm like the whole like boss babe, sprinkle cupcakes kind of branding that
from above, the photos from above.
From above, right. And then like, cotton candy skirts. And I'm like, holy shit, that is so not me at all. And that's the thing. It's like, I agree with you so much. It took me so long to be comfortable in my own skin to just literally ground myself in my be you thing. And that is stellar. Damn, wish somebody would tell me that because I wasted so much time trying to figure out the formula.
Yeah. And people come to me all the time wanting the steps, like you said, a formula, what's going to work in business, which funnel, what's the greatest thing, latest thing, what do I sell? What do I do? How do I show up? I would show up to exercise class, to my yoga class, which I hated because yoga meant I had to pause and make my mind stop going. And it was like, no, I can't do that at that time. But I'd show up in the best Lululemon outfit because then I'd be good at yoga, right? Mm-hmm. So it's so funny, the things that we perhaps, a listener listening to this, watching this can relate to, the things we do that we pile on, the masks we wear, either in relationships, in business, because we think that that'll make it work. Yeah. When the very thing that makes it work is showing up and being yourself. Because people gravitate toward that. People gravitate toward my joy. And that was the thing that I tapped down for so long and turned down because I thought I thought children were meant to be seen, not heard. It's funny, the stories we pick up along the way, right? And
Yeah.
that's another thing I wish somebody would have told me. It's like, you're going to hear so many stories and most of them are wrong. Stop
Mhm.
adopting them. Stop adopting them. Stop taking them on. Stop owning them. There's so many stories and there's so many things being sold to you every single day. Stop. Hand to heart. Does this work for me? Does this move the needle? Well, do you even know what the needle is? Do you know where you want to go? I had no clue. But yet when I sat down to write every morning, because I'd write 2,500 words before I even started the day, I knew that I was there just to write. I wasn't writing to anybody for a specific reason, to sell anybody anything, to fulfill a contract. I was writing because that was me.
Yeah.
I was showing up because I had to write. So what is that thing that you have to do? That thing that just drives you, makes you feel magic. That's you.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that magically pulls people in,
Yes.
I think.
I love it. So, okay. So that first tip is just be you. And so the second one is really around the stories that we're telling ourselves. And I'm going to just paraphrase what you said is like, I see it as being really discerning about the stories you're telling yourself.
Oh, very much so. It's, there's so many stories. We're inundated now, especially everybody has a smartphone in their hand. They're looking at it probably more than they're looking at their partner or their loved ones or staring anybody in the eyes. And it's great because it allows us to do so many things, but it's also inundating us with who we should be, what we should look like, what we should sound like, how we should write our emails, how we should talk to our prospects, or the things we should do or have or become. And I think that the moment I figured out myself was when I unplugged from it all and really took a beat and learned to hear, who am I? That voice inside me that whispered or that screamed silently and was like, just, you're such a fraud. Well, it was screaming that because, I was donning a mask after a mask. For this person, I'd be this way. For the Frenchman, I'd be that way. For my father, I'd be this way. They didn't ask me to be that way.
Yeah.
I just assumed I was supposed to be that way. So the stories we adopt, we start when we're children. We're just programmed with a lot of stories. And I think it's key to really tap into not necessarily reliving all the stories of your past, although people tend to do that, and I certainly did. It's really, what stories are you choosing to live by now? Are they even your stories? Do you want them? Are you ready to let them go? Are you spinning the same story for the last 20 years? I know I did that for years,
Yeah. Agreed. All right. That's a really big one because if you can unpack stories as the viewer is listening to this, I believe that one of the biggest gifts that you can do is having that awareness of the stories, and it almost like it diffuses it. It just like, that was so huge for me when I finally understood. I'm like, oh my God, that's just a story I'm telling myself. Like, and just, for me, I weigh it in as easily as, is this empowering me or is this disempowering me? Right. So I could just really make it as easy as that. And then checking in with myself. I'm like, okay, what am I telling myself here? Is this real? Right. Like, are you too fat to be on camera? Oh, whatever the ridiculousness is.
They were all, when I grow my hair out, then I'll get on camera because maybe I'll look better.
Yes.
Like, I mean, where does that come from? Does that serve me? No, it just holds me hostage.
And I love it. I have a dear client of mine who I had a great conversation with her, and she's just like, Patty, I love your stuff so much, but I got to tell you, can I be really honest with you? I'm like, oh my God, what's she going to say? And she's like, why aren't you out there more? And I'm like, oh my God, it's like the bane of my existence. Like, I hate the topic. And I'm like, all right. Like, I know what you have to do in the story. I'm like, all right, that's another story I have to unpack. I didn't even realize it was a story. So it was like, I'm so comfortable in my story, like, oh, I hate social media. So now look where I am. Like my own clients are telling me like, hello, get out there more. It's so true. It's so true.
Isn't it? It's funny because the stories can either propel us forward so that we can show up and serve, so that we can be ourselves and therefore attract people who want to hear from us. People are screaming for leaders, or
Yeah.
they want to hear from you, the authentic you, and that word's overused. But do you even know who you are? Most people don't.
No.
I certainly didn't. And I know one of the stories that you love that I tell and that's in my book is that, you know, I looked at weight loss for me, shedding pounds, as every pound I shed, because I once weighed 299.5. That's 299 pounds, almost 300 pounds. I'm only 5'2". I'm pretty small. So I was a big, unhealthy girl. And every pound I chose to lose, finally, when I stopped the yin yang up down cycle, was a story that I let go of, that I shed. And that's why it worked for me, because I had so many stories. And for me, packing on those pounds was a way to protect myself, a way to keep myself small, interestingly enough, right? And that's not going to be everybody's story, but that was my story.
Yeah.
And I think so often we think our stories are supposed to be like somebody else's, you know, like it's supposed to be that overnight success. Well, I'm sorry, but most, if not all, overnight successes are 20 years in the making. Seriously.
Absolutely. It really
I
is.
mean,
It's true.
but we don't highlight that.
Right. It's so true. Okay. So tell us your tip number 3. Damn, I wish somebody would have told me that tip. Your last one.
Oh, tip number 3 is kind of what you said in a way, and I'll just reiterate it, is hand to my heart. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Does this serve me? This new way to do business, this, you know, this new platform to jump on, or writing this book, or reading this book, or having another bag of chips. Does this serve me? Is this in my best and highest interest? Starting to tap in, because we all, men, women, everybody, kids, we all have this intuitive knowing inside of us. And we all have the ability to feel more joy. And I think if I had an opportunity for tip number 4, it would be more joy. You know, just add more joy. But getting in touch with yourself, hand to heart, asking yourself, deep breath in, deep breath out, and then waiting for the answer. If it doesn't show up right then and there, it's okay. You know, just because we order something on Amazon, it doesn't mean that it's right there. Delivery guy, really hottie, is delivering it in that second. It might be tomorrow at 4 o'clock. It might be at 2 o'clock. We don't get mad that it's not exactly 4:01 with the hot guy that you like.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, ask again later.
Yeah.
It's okay. Allow and start to tap into that voice, that inner you, because when you do, then you can access more joy. And I live from this place that abundance follows joy. If you go through life in joy, feeling more joy, allowing more joy in, number 1, you're magnetic. You're going to attract people, period. And amazing people, because like attracts like. But you're also going to attract healthier relationships, more wealth, better health, because joy is this intrinsic high vibration, you know, and I don't want to go too woo-woo, but it's just a high vibing emotion that everyone can tap into. And it's such a beautiful thing. And for so long, I really dialed back my joy. And I'm so glad I don't anymore.
Out of curiosity, why did you dial back your joy? What was it that held you back on the joy meter?
It was not being me. It was the stories of maybe I'm not worthy enough, or, you know, life's out to punish me, or I don't deserve this, or, you know, or tone it down, Jill. You know, I probably heard my dad say that to me once, but I took it to heart. He didn't mean it. He meant it in that moment when I was laughing really, really loud. But I took it to mean overall, like tone your life down. You know, even when I said yes to the Frenchman and married him, the fabulous Frenchman, I pretended I donned a story. I looked, all of the movies I had watched, You Complete Me. Love Jerry Maguire, but that's a really detrimental line, especially for women at times. No, he doesn't complete me. I'm my own solid tree. He's his own solid tree. I have branches that stretch out if I'm, being me. I have root systems that stretch down and out and anchor me and ground me. And you know what? Maybe we sway together and our branches get to intertwine, but I'm my own being.
Yeah.
He's his own being. It took me about 6 years into our relationship for me to stop cleaving unto him and trying to be what I thought he wanted me to be. So stories, oh my goodness, joy, just these are, it's just powerful, being yourself.
Absolutely. And then I just have a last question. What do you think is a common obstacle for entrepreneurs that keeps them stuck? Just like a big one.
Being what we think people want us to be, or copycatting our way to success. You're not going to be successful. Successful starts inside, feeling successful first, which somebody might be like, what? But I'm not successful yet. Well, if you say you are, then you are. Yeah. And then more follows that vibe, that way of being. But when we copycat somebody else, we're just toning down our own light. We're putting ourselves in that little box in a structure, and it's not even our box. It's not even our structure. And then you take a little bit of copycat from this person, a little bit of copycat from that person, and then pretty soon you lose yourself, and nobody's attracted to you because they don't even know who you are, because you're just putting out so many different variations of yourself. And that's what I did for years. And the only reason I was ever successful in my writing career is because I hid it. I didn't have to show up as me. I ghost wrote for other people. And it was brilliant because yes, I'd have to show up for that person that I was working with, but it was a one-on-one intimate experience. So it was like this, having a conversation. It was great. I could be me. They loved who I was, but I didn't realize, if I would just show up in life that way, maybe I could serve more people. But I got to serve that one person and bring their story to life. And I didn't have to worry about showing up. How would I show up? What would it look like? Who would I be?
Right.
So
love it. Love it. That's a very good tip. All right, Jill, how can people learn more about you and how you can help them, about your fabulous book and more?
Yes. Create your most delicious life. Life's a bitch, especially now. Make it a joy. That is one of my titles that's out. And probably The Journey of You will be out at some point during this summit. So that's the second book kind of in a series. And you can pick those up. Isn't that fun? Yeah, it's a great title. I have no idea as we're recording this what the subtitle will be, if there even will be, but Journey of You stands for joy. And it's perfectly aligned with
so much about everything that you talked about, everything you talked about today.
And I think that's true. If I can just sum it up in joy, the journey of you, that's what this life is. It's the journey of you. Don't make what you did wrong. Like when we start to wake up and we realize, oh my gosh, I've been telling this story for 25 years. What a waste of time. No, it wasn't. You needed to do that. Now you're aware. Do you want to keep the story or do you want to let it go? Just let it go. Don't beat yourself up with a self-punishment stick. Otherwise, you're just going to spin in a new story that doesn't serve you.
Oh, I love that. JOY, Journey of You.
Journey of You. That's what life is. And it's about being in enjoyment of it. And so, yes, you can pick up my books. You can look me up at jillrstevens.com or thejoyfulwriter.com. And yeah.
I love it. I love your book. I love so it's on my night table and I'll sometimes grab it and I'll look at a Jill story and I'm like, oh, that's such I'm really looking forward to your next book. I love it. I love the topic. And thank you so much for sharing your thought process, the philosophies that have helped you on your own journey of entrepreneurship and then some. So thank you so much. And for the viewer, please know the links right below of how to engage with Jill. Her words are so beautiful and she's so inspiring. And on more than one occasion, I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And I'll just go, that was really good, Jill. Like those moments and those one-liners that you're like, holy crap, that's good, and that's what you get from Jill. So definitely check her out because it's really, really powerful words. So thank you, Jill. You're amazing. I love you so much. And yeah.
Love you too. Thank you for having me. This is amazing what you're doing for women,
All right, thanks.